Imagine a world where the whispers of history took a different turn. A world where the fierce spirit of the Norsemen didn't just touch distant shores, but claimed them, forever altering the tapestry of time. Welcome to Alternatify, where we dive deep into the currents of what might have been. Today we embark on a journey to a North America profoundly reshaped. We explore a timeline where Viking longships didn't just visit Vinland, but established a thriving, enduring colony. This isn't just a fleeting thought experiment. It's an exploration of ripple effects, profound consequences, and a history utterly unlike our own. Have you ever looked at a map, tracing the familiar outlines of continents, and wondered, what if? What if the first European footsteps on North American soil had been permanent, not just a fleeting echo? Our known history tells a tale of daring exploration. Around 1000 AD, Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, led his Norse crew to a land they called Vinland, a place of wild grapes and abundant timber. They established a small temporary settlement at Lance aux Meadows, a testament to their incredible seafaring prowess. Yet, this bold venture ultimately faltered. The Norse presence in Vinland was short-lived, lasting perhaps only a few years. Historians point to several critical factors: fierce resistance from the indigenous populations, the sheer harshness of the climate, and the immense unsustainable distance from their Scandinavian homeland. But what if those challenges weren't insurmountable? Our divergence point begins with the Vikings digging in their heels instead of retreating. Imagine a scenario where a more stable political climate in Scandinavia, or perhaps a greater need for resources, fueled a sustained effort. This shift transforms mere explorers into determined colonizers. The initial decades for these tenacious colonists would have been brutal. They faced relentless resistance from the indigenous peoples, groups like the Beothuk and Mi'kmaq, who fiercely defended their ancestral lands. Every new longhouse, every cleared field, would have been a battle. However, the Vikings possessed distinct advantages. Their superior weaponry, advanced shipbuilding techniques, and extensive experience in conflict would have given them a formidable edge. They were not strangers to harsh environments or fierce adversaries. Despite their martial prowess, permanent survival necessitated a crucial element: cooperation. The Norse would have quickly realized their need for indigenous knowledge. Understanding the land, mastering local hunting techniques, and identifying edible plants were skills only the native inhabitants possessed. Initial trade, however fraught, would have been a necessity alongside conflict. As the colony took root, the Norse would have begun to impose their culture. Their language, their polytheistic religion, and their distinct way of life would have been introduced. Longhouses would rise, fields would be tilled, and fishing practices would adapt to the new environment. A unique society, blending Norse traditions with the realities of the New World, would slowly emerge. Over generations, this nascent colony would grow and expand. New settlements would be established, pushing further into the vast wilderness. The colonists would adapt to the harsh climate, developing new technologies and skills tailored to their North American home. This wasn't just a Scandinavian outpost, it was becoming a new Norse nation. Yet, obstacles would remain constant. The threat of conflict with native populations would never fully dissipate, evolving from open warfare to border skirmishes and uneasy truces. Maintaining reliable contact and supply lines with the distant homeland would be an ongoing logistical nightmare. Building a new society from scratch in an unfamiliar land demanded immense resilience. The success of such a colony would have profound and irreversible consequences. It would not merely alter the history of North America, it would send ripples across the entire globe, fundamentally reshaping the course of human civilization as we know it. Centuries of Norse presence would inevitably lead to a fascinating cultural blending. Imagine a hybridization of Norse and indigenous traditions, creating something entirely new. Languages would intertwine, with Old Norse words finding their way into local tongues and vice versa, forming unique creoles. Art forms would reflect this fusion. Viking craftsmanship, with its intricate knotwork and animal motifs, would merge with Native American symbolism and artistic expressions. Sagas of Norse gods and heroes would be told alongside indigenous oral traditions, creating a rich shared mythology. This would be a society celebrating both ancestral legacies. The Vikings' unparalleled seafaring skills would lead to extensive exploration. Their longships, now built from abundant North American timber, would meticulously map the vast coastline. They might discover the Great Lakes, navigate the mighty Mississippi River, and venture far south along the continent's eastern seaboard, long before any other European power. This new world would open up unprecedented trade routes. Goods would flow between the North American colonies and Scandinavia, but also between the Norse settlers and various indigenous groups. Furs, timber, and fish would be exchanged for metal tools, weapons, and other manufactured goods. This economic enrichment would be a double-edged sword, fostering both cooperation and conflict. Technological transfer would be a cornerstone of this alternate reality. Viking shipbuilding techniques, metalworking skills, and advanced agricultural practices would be introduced. These innovations would profoundly impact indigenous populations, altering their tools, their hunting methods, and their relationship with the land. Religious encounters would be equally transformative. The worship of Norse gods, Odin, Thor, Freya, would be a central pillar of Viking culture. These beliefs would inevitably clash with, and perhaps eventually blend with, indigenous spiritual practices. Imagine a syncretic faith, where the thunder god Thor shares reverence with local nature spirits. One of the most significant global impacts would be the delay of the European age of discovery. With a permanent Norse presence, the Vikings might have jealously guarded their North American foothold, keeping its existence a secret from other European powers for centuries. This could push back Columbus's voyage, or even prevent it entirely. The Vikings would possess an undeniable advantage in further exploration. Their existing knowledge of the North American coastline, their established settlements, and their adapted shipbuilding techniques would give them a massive head start. They would be uniquely positioned to explore more effectively and establish further colonies or trade routes across the continent. The impact on indigenous populations globally would be complex and multifaceted. While new technologies and ways of life would be introduced, so too would new diseases, for which native peoples had no immunity. This would lead to devastating population declines, but also to new forms of resistance and adaptation. Global economic transformation would be inevitable. New trade routes would emerge, connecting Scandinavia and its North American colonies to the rest of the world. The introduction of new goods and resources like North American timber, furs, and perhaps even unique crops would reshape global markets. This would fuel economic growth, but also intensify competition and conflict between emerging powers. The political landscape of Europe and beyond would be irrevocably altered. The establishment of new Norse colonies would challenge existing power structures, creating new geopolitical players. This could lead to increased instability as nations vied for influence, but also to new opportunities for alliances and growth. Cultural exchange and conflict would become a global phenomenon. The introduction of new languages, religions, and ways of life from the North American colonies would spread across the world. This would foster unprecedented cultural blending, but also ignite new ideological clashes and conflicts. The environmental impact would also be profound. The introduction of new technologies and agricultural practices by the Norse would transform the North American landscape. While this could lead to environmental degradation through deforestation and resource extraction, it might also spur new forms of land management and conservation, born from a deeper understanding of the New World. So we've journeyed through a world where the Norse didn't just visit, but stayed. A world where a permanent Viking presence fundamentally reshaped history, from the cultural tapestry of North America to the global balance of power. It underscores the incredible interconnectedness of historical events, where one small change can cascade into an entirely different reality. This enduring what-if leaves us with a sense of wonder. It highlights the fragility and contingency of our own timeline, reminding us that the path we took was just one of countless possibilities. What other paths might humanity have trod? What are your thoughts on this alternate timeline? How do you imagine a Norse-influenced North America would look today? Share your insights and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the currents of history, be sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Alternatify for more thought-provoking scenarios. Your engagement helps us explore even more fascinating what-ifs. Thank you for joining us on this speculative voyage. May your curiosity continue to guide you through the endless possibilities of history. Next time, we might explore a world where Rome never fell, or where gunpowder was invented 1,000 years earlier. The possibilities are truly limitless.